weapon system was detonated on the satellite.
And the threat is real.
Goldeneye exists. A radiation surge that destroys everything with an electronic circuit.
You can still depend on one man.
I want you to find Goldeneye.
3,
Find who took it
2,
and stop it.
1.
Name's Bond. James Bond.
The world's most famous secret agent is back.
We aim to please.
And this time, 007 is facing the ultimate enemy. The man who knows him best.
Hello, James.
What an unpleasant surprise.
006.
What's the matter? No pithy comeback?
He was a friend, and now he's your enemy and you will kill him.
Is the satellite in range?
Target is London.
Now, the entire world is about to be caught in the crossfire.
See you in hell, James. You first.
The pleasure will be all mine.
Did you check her out? Head to toe.
3 clicks, arms the fuse. Don't say it.
The writing's on the wall?
Grow up, 007. I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War.
You know, James, I was always better.
Both of you, stop! Look, boys with toys. It's great while you're still here.
I wouldn't think of it.
Charming, sophisticated secret agent. Shaken but not disturbed.
Get us out of here!
Bond. Only Bond. Man just won't take a hint. That depends on your definition of safe sex.
On November 17th, United Artists brings you,
Trust me.
James Bond.
Why can't you just be a good boy and die? That's one trick I've never learned.
Rascal's joining us for another video, and you can probably tell from the trailer, I am doing the beloved Goldeneye. And I will do a nice little review of that movie right after these messages from our friends Nintendo 64. And that's coming up right now.
How to use one of these?
Goldeneye. No rumble pack. And see how it feels when 007 meets M64.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that lovely commercial. If you want to see something comical, it is me playing the 007 GoldenEye game. It was quite comical to watch me play, or I'm very sorry, let me correct myself. Try very hard to play that game. I died within just 2 seconds, and I couldn't kill anybody to save my life. I couldn't kill the fat whiny guy that was horrible at the game. I got a few shots in, so I was very, very proud of myself. But no, I had a very hard time with that game. And it is also that game that is at fault for this movie being a big hit. I'm sorry to disappoint the gamers out there, but the only reason why you like this movie is because you like the game. You probably never saw this, or that just automatically became your favorite Bond. So, with all that nonsense being said, hi, Stimpy. Stimpy agrees with me 100%. So, I had to put Stimpy through this movie. I don't think he liked it very much. He seemed to run away. So, Stimpy will obviously give this movie an F. Just by his 2 seconds of staring at it and then running away. So I have Stimpy's opinion, and yeah, you're making a lot of people mad. Trust me. So anyways, yes, so this is Pierce Brosnan playing James Bond. And I'm going to say right off the bat, this was the right actor at this time for sure. I'm not going to lie, he did a really good job. And we all know of Pierce Brosnan. I believe he was in a show called Remington Steele. He was in the movie Dante's Peak. He was in, he's playing the something. I think Stimpy wants to do his own little Bond tricks here. I think he did learn something from the movie. Oh, maybe he's not. Or maybe he is. Oh, well. Anyways, okay, so Pierce Brosnan, he was in Dante's Peak. He was also in Mrs. Doubtfire. He was in a movie called No Escape. He was also in The World Is Not Enough, Tomorrow Never Dies. I'm trying to think if I remember any other Bond movies he was in. Oh, Die Another Day. That was one with Halle Berry, I think, as the Bond girl. So he has done some Bond movies before. He's going to drive me nuts. Oh, yes, and he was also in Mars Attacks. He was Sarah Jessica Parker's bopper on the side guy or something like that. So that is Pierce Brosnan. Sean Bean is also in this movie as 006, a.k.a. Alec Trevelyan. He was in the movie The Martian. I believe that's the only thing I think I've really seen him in. I know he was in a couple others as well. Let's see. We also do have Judi Dench now playing M. This is new. It's a different person playing the part of M. And we do have Llewellyn back as Q, which is a good thing because this is one of my favorite characters. He gives Bond all of his fun gadgets, which Generation Boring has tried to push out over the years. And unfortunately, they've done a good job. So we do have a couple other actresses here. The one that really does stand out is, I believe her name is Famke Janssen. She plays Xena Onatop. I love the names. And then the other girl in here that is Natalia. I know I'm going to butcher her last name. I'm going to actually look it up. I'm going to pull up Jeremy Johns here. Isabella Scorpco, we're going to go with that. And Martin Campbell does direct this. And he has done movies like Vertical Limit, Edge of Darkness, and of course I think he actually did do another Bond as well. I think The World Is Not Enough or Tomorrow Never Dies. So he has done a couple things before. So this movie actually is pretty cut and dry. The codes to this deadly satellite is weapon falls into the wrong hands and they take the codes. So now it is up to, of course, 007, played by Pierce Brosnan, to pretty much save the day. He does, as a James Bond thing, he runs into some obstacles along the way. At the very beginning of the movie, it does show his partner, 006, being killed, but as the trailer kind of spoiled it, he does become the villain later on in the movie. You're pretty much going to find that out just by watching the opening trailer. I didn't realize that. I honestly only saw the trailer one time. And I don't remember that part in there. So I am actually going to show the first clip now. And this is just a typical James Bond stunt at the beginning of a movie. At the beginning of the movie, this is it's a little far-fetched stunt that he does. But it's a Bond movie. You have to expect this stuff. So I will show you that in just a second. Yeah, it's just him just doing... So this is the opening scene here with the little stunt off the dam there. This is a typical Bond opening movie scene where he does some ridiculous jump or dive or whatever you want to call it. So here he is at the very beginning, and Pierce Brosnan, in my opinion, does sort of pull this off. He at least doesn't look clunky and ridiculous like George Lazenby or Timothy Dalton doing this junk. So it does make it kind of an exciting and kind of laughable opening scene. I've always kind of enjoyed these. So, and of course, since this is a Bond movie, the opening scene also has some explosions and some other nonsense. His partner doing a fake death with the Russians. So I will show you that scene in just a second.
9, 8, 2, bring the chain!
Okay, well, here's the part here where his partner supposedly gets shot. That's why I didn't say, ooh, that hurts, because, ooh, that didn't hurt. He probably either hit him to the side or it was a blank. Who knows what happened. But I guess the Russian cap guns are pretty realistic. This is Colonel Armanov that supposedly shot him. He is the bad guy in here that does eventually take over the destruction satellite called Goldeneye. So a lot of people don't know that this does exist, and there's like a whole control team that does end up getting shot up by Xena Onatop, who is about to get the badge, and I will show you that clip in just a second here. But after his partner gets shot, there is a really funny, I found it funny, somebody said it's not realistic. It was somebody made that very clear, that he does like a bungee jump to get back into the airplane, and not only that, but he tends to get control of the airplane and fly it. And Pierce Brosnan, like I said, this is another thing that he pulls off. This is something that Lazenby, Dalton, and I forgot to mention the very overrated Craig, the king of the blank stare, would not be able to pull this off either. He might, but he would just have some clunky look on his face and do it awkwardly, but Generation Boring would give it a standing ovation. So I will now show the clip of it. Now this is going to terrify Reddit reviewers because Xena Onatop gets her name from this scene that I'm about to show. So this is going to scare people that have nightmares about Ric Flair and are also Reddit posters. So they are not going to like this, and also spend their lives in card stores. They are not going to like this clip. So they will close their eyes. And I will turn off the lights, and I will show that clip in just a second. Ooh, that hurts. Well, this is the less fun this guy is ever going to have. I guess he is her main squeeze. Just for a little bit longer. So anyways, yeah, she does get rid of this guy. She pushes him out of the way to get his badge to take over the codes for the Goldeneye satellite, if I want to call it that. Maybe I'll just call it the Goldeneye. So they are about to, after they get done with the whole freezer thing outside, because it's incredibly cold out there, they get into the access code building per se, or people that keep the codes up, and they just tend to, well, you know what, I'll just show you the clip. I'm not going to ruin the fun. So I will show you that clip in just a second. Well, if there's any uninjured, I wonder if Russia has workers' comp. No, they probably don't. So, ooh, that hurts. So this is a huge little bloodbath here, and of course, who's the typical killer? It is the lovable Xena Onatop that starts the firing. So she just has it in her. I guess she just wants to kill every single person. So I guess that is her job in this. So with that said, we will see what this satellite does. They now have control over it. So now, instead of taking over the base, I guess being Russian, I guess their idea is to destroy everything. So we will show them doing that. Actually, during James Bond is getting the briefing on what happened here. So this is all happening as this is being explained to him by the Wonderful M that does not have a sense of humor. Tanner was caught making fun of her in some ways, and she overheard it. That was kind of an amusing scene. So there is humor in this, which is good. Most James Bond movies do. This one has about the same thing. The comic reliefs in this would have to be Boris. I haven't shown him yet, but his big line is, "I am invincible," and he has little interesting comments at the beginning when they show him too. Some of his codes have some, let's just say, teenage behavior in some of it. Let's just say if it's those types that would have the Ric Flair nightmares that would not appreciate his sense of humor. So, well, they wouldn't. So, with that being said, I will show what this satellite is capable of doing in just a second. Well, this scene, I think you have to agree, is pretty cool. The explosions are kind of neat. I do enjoy the special effects. But what is more amazing in this scene is how does Natalia get out of this? She lives. But how does that happen? Could somebody explain? Oh, I will. It's a Bond movie. This is just what happens. But it does make it pretty. It does make it entertaining. Is it realistic? No, but it's not supposed to be. Even in the making of this, which I did watch, Q does say you have to keep the fantasy in Bond to make it a Bond movie. So he's saying keep the fun in it. I don't think they listened very hard. I wish Q was still alive. But I will show. Speaking of Q, I will cue it up to. To show you Q himself.
You're so cheesy.
Yep, I had to make a dad joke in this movie. It was just there. I had to take it. So I will show you Q in just a second. I hope you like him just as much as I do. He's incredibly entertaining, and he should have been in this more. So I will show you that in just a second.
Morning, Q. Sorry about the leg. Skiing?
Hunting. Right, now pay attention, 007. First, your new car. BMW. Agile 5 forward gears, all points radar. Self-destruct.
I'm familiar with that device.
Not one with a 75-foot rappelling cord built into the buckle. Fire. 3 clicks. Arms the 4-second fuse. Another 3 disarms it. Some of this equipment in pristine order. Don't touch that. It's my lunch.
Well, so here's one of my favorite parts of the movie, and this is, of course, Q. He comes in with his little cast on, and as you could tell, James Bond does his little joke where he says, "Is it a skiing accident?" He presses a button, and boom, a missile comes out of his cast. This is very typical Q behavior. This is what he does. He also shows Bond the very famous James Bond luxury car, which in this case is a BMW. I'm sorry, I forgot the model number, but that's not important. The point is, it comes with all the little gadgets and devices, like probably has lasers and guns and probably a parachute of some kind. But of course, he also says that he's licensed to kill, not licensed to disobey traffic laws, which he does anyway. Who are we kidding? A red light means green for James Bond. I wonder if he gives Q...
And for the people that live in Florida.
Okay, fine, and that too. Now, I just wonder if he gives Q all of his parking tickets and speeding tickets and driving reckless. I wonder if he gives him all his tickets as well. I would actually like to know that. I would actually like to see Q's face if he does do something like this. I think it would be kind of funny. I did like the other parts here too, how he wants him to bring everything back in one piece. You know that does not happen. Everything is burned to a crisp. Everything is dinged and dented. Everything's blown up. I would like to see the whole return thing. It's like when you have to return your textbook at the end of the school year, and then you just ask the teacher, how much do I owe? So it's about the same thing. You have to expect this. So it happens all the time. Okay, yes. So obviously he's not going to return anything in one piece, so he shouldn't even say that. And I did like the end there where he just picks up a sandwich thinking it's some kind of weapon, and it's Q's lunch. Q, I hope for your sake that is not a Subway sandwich. I do not want you eating Wrestling Max spray. So I really hope that's not Subway. I hope that is something that is actually fresh and not endorsed by Gerald Fogel, who, of course, has childhood fantasies, which is why he's in jail. So, moving on. So 007 now gets to meet an old friend that is coming back into the picture. I think we all know who it is, but I'm going to show the clip anyways because it's kind of an important part of the movie. And I will show you that in just a second.
Hello, James. Back from the dead.
That's good. Well, this is, of course, we all know, this is 006 or Alex Trevelyan. I really should say Alex Trevelyan because, yeah, he's not really 006 anymore. I think he got fired. So, obviously, this is a little bit of a shock to 007, seeing his old partner still alive and also bad. So now him and Natalia do end up getting captured, but as usual in a Bond movie, he finds ways to get out. So, I mean, they end up going through a parachute together. It looks like they're home free. Oh, wait, nope, they get captured again. They end up escaping again. And not only does James Bond seem to drive BMWs and Aston Martins and so on and so forth, but he also now can drive an army tank. And once again, for some reason, Pierce Brosnan pulls this off. So, I will show that scene in just a second. Well, this is a very fun scene. And, you know, I did forget to ask the audience what their favorite Bond movie is, if they have one, or if they hate Bond, you could put that in there too. Why not? Oh, we got one person that does. So, anyway, so this is Pierce Brosnan driving the tank, and I found this incredibly amusing, just how the wall goes down, just how he's driving it. Yes, you have a question. Sorry, this is James Bond driving the tank. We know it, but I'm just explaining that Pierce Brosnan is pulling this off. All these Daniel Craig lovers, for whatever reason, I think he would look goofy.
Who?
The new James Bond, the guy with the elf ears.
Again, who?
Daniel Craig, the guy who plays Bond now, if he was driving that tank, he would look goofy. Timothy Dalton would look really goofy driving that tank. And don't get me started on Lazenby. It wouldn't fit at all. If he was going to be in an army tank, I wish he would be where they put the shells in. We could just blow him out to orbit or something. So what I'm trying to say is he actually pulls his character off. This is a very amusing scene, just how he's weaving in and out of traffic with this big, huge army tank. So now he does end up with Natalia, and they do end up coming together. As you know from Bond movies, they go all over the place. They pretty much team up together. So I will show part of that scene next, right after I turn the lights off, because Alexa's been fired for the time being.
First. You. Second. Up!
situation analysis. Where we started, James? A friend with a mission. Drop the gun. Let her live.
Orumov, what has this Cossack promised you? You knew, didn't you? He's a Lian's Cossack.
It's in the...
Well, this is the scene here where him and Natalia do end up sort of getting together eventually. He has to see her, then of course he gets out of trouble during this. And typical Bond movie, him and Natalia end up in a jungle or beach kind of deal. So I guess an island of some sorts. This is just a nice typical classic Bond here. So let's get a girl and let's get her on a beach. That seems to be his way. So as usual, Bond does have his fun, and obviously he goes through a few obstacles here. It shows the wonderful, classy Xena Onatopp in the background here, and it obviously shows his old friend, and he pretty much says to the Russian colonel that his ex-friend is going to betray him. So there's some second guessing that goes on there. So this is one way how he gets Natalia away from the bad guys. So the second last clip, we will find out what happens to this wonderful Xena Onatopp, and we'll find out how many more squeezes she puts on people. So I will show that clip in just a second. Well, this is the final scene with the great Xena on the top of a tree. So when she did tend to get her last squeeze in, Bond does make his usual snarky remark, saying that she always did like a good squeeze. Well, he's not wrong. So that is pretty much how she ends up ending. So yeah, not a good time for her. But another explosion was pretty cool. So far, this movie is a very good action movie. This I'm not going to tell you exactly where this falls in on my whole Bond list or review yet, but this is a very, very good action movie. It might be the best action movie in 1995. So now I will show the next scene where I haven't shown our buddy Boris yet. And I know this is going to disappoint people because he was sort of a favorite in this movie. He was a comic relief character.
It's only on like 4 times.
Yeah, he's on a little bit more than that. This is a longer movie, and I'm trying not to show every single clip because, and unfortunately, all the important parts don't really have Boris, but people do like how he says, "I am invincible." That is his line. That's what everybody remembers. There were some other funny parts he had too, but people just like to remember one line. It's part of the Generation Boring era. So I will show Boris in just a second.
6 minutes. Prepare the dish.
Oh, it's too early. I am not ready.
Do it.
This is the final clip that I am going to show. This is Boris, and yes, he does even get snarky even with his fellow boss there, Mr. Alec. Not Alec Baldwin, don't worry. This guy shoots people on purpose. So Boris is one of the guys at the beginning that do survive that massacre shooting done by Miss Xena, not the warrior princess, but Xena Onatopp, somebody that is more exciting. So he's one of the survivors with Natalia, only Natalia goes with Bond, and Boris ends up going with the bad guys. So yeah, Boris was always in his own little world. Natalia was kind of more for the good. Boris could easily be manipulated into either I honestly forgot what it was. I don't know if it was money or if he just wanted to stay alive or both. You know, I really don't know, but they really did need Boris because as perverted as he is, he's a good programmer. So, okay, so maybe the Reddit people don't like Boris because of that. But anyways, so leave it as it may. This is going to be the last clip I'm going to show. And of course, I'm not going to do my review yet because, unfortunately, Mr. King of No Sense of Humor and also King of the Depend Diapers also did a review on this before me, so I will show them in just a second.
I know the Russian failsafe systems. You just don't walk in and ask for the keys to the bomb. You need the access codes.
Pierce Brosnan becomes the 5th actor to say those magic words. Bond, James Bond, in the new 007 thriller Goldeneye, one of 6 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with Jack Nicholson's latest film, and Toy Story, a very different kind of Disney animated feature, one drawn by computer. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is Goldeneye, which is the 18th James Bond adventure in a series going all the way back to 1962 and starring this time Pierce Brosnan as the 5th Agent 007. And with this film, he seems to evolve into a kinder, gentler Bond. The movie opens, as always, with a spectacular stunt as James Bond bungee jumps from the top of a dam in order to infiltrate a top-secret Russian weapons installation. Extremely suggestive names, and the villainess in Goldeneye is no exception. She's played by Famke Janssen.
Ksenia Sergeyevna Onatop. Onatop.
That's a familiar note for Bond fans, but now consider this scene in which 007 is calling for a friendly Russian computer operator played by Isabella Scorupco.
What else do you call your bot?
What?
It's Boris' password. He plays war games. It's what I see too, but I...
The movie's strong points, as always, are the stunts, special effects, and action scenes. Neglected to describe the plot of Goldeneye. Well, it pits Bond against a criminal mastermind from the old Soviet Union whose plan is to seize control of a secret satellite and use it to destroy Earthbound communication systems, thus giving him global domination. In other words, this is more or less the plot of every James Bond picture. I enjoyed Goldeneye for what it was, though, and I give it thumbs up.
Well, that thumbs up comes as a surprise, because I didn't get a sense at all that you enjoyed this picture.
I
certainly didn't.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I think that he isn't an interesting Bond. I like Connery, and everybody else has been nothing compared to Connery. Frankly, Roger Moore has a more commanding physical presence than this guy. I thought this was an average picture. It's a routine story, just like you said.
Well, they're all routine stories.
No,
let me
most
tell
of them are. No, the classic ones, the
Well,
early Connery
the
ones.
first three.
Of course,
okay.
those are classic,
Yeah.
and those are the ones that I recommend. I can't recommend this picture at all.
What I'm saying is, it did have some amazing shots in it.
Only at the beginning. Only at the
beginning. When the guy
beginning.
is free falling after that airplane.
Only
That's
at the
kind of
beginning.
amazing.
That's Roger. You're talking about 30 seconds. If a good friend of yours asked you whether they should go see it,
What
would
about
say
the,
yes.
what about the chase? What about the chase scene?
Would you
What about
say-
the chase scene with the 2 cars? What about the tank? That was
If
pretty
I
neat.
asked you, should I go see it, would you tell me yes?
You know what I tell you? If you like James Bond, then you'll probably like this one better than some of
If
the
you
others.
like James Bond, you won't like this.
Well, Siskel, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll go in order here. So, this was their little review on this, and sometimes I don't know if they really pay attention to what they watch. I don't know if Pierce Brosnan was really a gentler Bond. I don't know where. I don't think driving an army tank and blowing things up is supposedly gentle. But now, on the other hand, Ebert did seem to like this movie, which was fine, and Siskel, who has no movie principles, just completely just destroys the whole thing and doesn't make any sense with his review at all. I don't think this movie was really bad, to be honest. I know some people are going to rip my head off for my grade, and that's fine. I might deserve it, I might not. So I guess Ebert, King of the Toilet Chair, actually did defend this movie, and Siskel does what he does, and he just has no sense of humor. Or actually, I thought what he said about Pierce Brosnan, I thought he was completely off the mark on that. I thought he played Bond incredibly well. Who does he like? Timothy Dalton? I bet you Lazenby is probably his favorite. He probably has a poster of Lazenby in his house, and he probably has Timothy Dalton in his bedroom. So, that's my opinion on Siskel. So now back to Goldeneye. So, okay, so now to do my review, since I couldn't think of a name for Siskel. Maybe they're Sickle, I can call him that, or I can call him Diaper Baby, or something like that. I'm trying to think of a name for him. Or, better yet, Siskel the Grouch. Why don't we call him that? Siskel the Grouch. Okay, I will call him that from now on. I couldn't think of a name. So anyway, so going back to Goldeneye here, I really do think, after looking at the lineup of movies in 1995, to be fair, I think this was the best action movie in 1995, but from what I looked at, there weren't a lot of action movies. Batman Forever maybe came out in 95. I don't remember at the top of my head. The Net was pretty close, but that was more of a suspense movie. So, Goldeneye was probably the best action movie. So now, where would I put this on my Bond list? Is this the best? People do actually consider this the best Bond. Is this the best Bond in my opinion? Not even close. I'm not really sure where I would put this on my list, but it is definitely not my favorite. I like the Roger Moore movies better. I like the Sean Connery movies better. And I'll leave it at that because I'm trying to... Yeah, no. This is... Well, my favorite Bond is Sean Connery. Roger Moore is second. This guy is a very, very strong third. Unfortunately, this was probably his best movie because the scripts that he did in the other ones weren't as good. He was good, but the scripts were not. So with this movie, if I'm going to grade it, I'm actually going to give it a B-. And this is going to make people angry. Because this is a lot of people's favorite Bond, but it's only because of the video game that it's their favorite Bond. It could be the only Bond movie that they saw. This was the first James Bond movie that I ever saw. This did get me hooked into it, but I like the other ones more. I watched Goldfinger right after this one, and I loved that. And then years and years and years later, I watched the other ones, and I like those a lot more than Goldeneye. Yeah, I think Goldfinger's the one where you painted the girl gold. That is definitely, I think that's my favorite Bond. This, I don't know where this would land on. I'd have to actually look at how many Roger Moore did. I think Sean Connery did 5 or 6. So right off the bat, we're already looking at 5 ahead of it. And then Roger Moore, the only one he did that I didn't like was Live or Let Die. So I will ask the audience again, what is your favorite Bond? Do you agree with my B- grade? I've pretty much explained it. It's a good action movie, but it's missing some of that other classic stuff that the Sean Connery ones had or that Roger Moore had. Especially, this was not nearly as good as Man with the Golden Gun that Roger Moore had. There were some really cool scenes in that movie. So this is my review of Goldeneye. I hope you kind of enjoyed it. I'm not saying this wasn't an enjoyable movie. It just wasn't my favorite James Bond. And again, the video game is to blame for that. So here we go. So I will leave it at that. Daniel Craig and Timothy Dalton are obviously one of my least favorite Bonds, but George Lazenby is by far the worst. So subscribe if you want, comment below, and thank you for watching.